Oh, and let me turn this the fans off real fast. Let me turn these fans off so I can hear a little better. How are we doing on this Thursday? How are we doing? Let me get you set up right there. That is what we will be working on today. Oh man, my phone case has seen better days here. What do all of these buttons over here do? I've never really pressed them. And I'm afraid to, because if I do, I don't want to disrupt the stream. What's going on, my lone chat member? We're just firing things up real fast. Let me point you down here to show you what we're going to be working on today. This little beauty. This little beauty. Right. Just gonna kind of take an inventory of everything. That'll be a little tough to sand, but that's okay. Okie dokie. Oh, they left. That's all right. Honestly, I kind of need to get going. Like, yes, we're doing a live stream, and yes, I'm going to be engaged, but I kind of need to rip. So maybe I should just go. Why not? We're just going to go. If people come in and start saying things, I'll definitely pause for a moment, but our goal is to try to get this 100% sanded by the end of the chat or by the end of the live session, so that before I leave today, we could potentially even have a finish on it. That would be the goal. A few things we got to do to make that happen, but I think we've got a good shot of being able to get that done during the chat, because it's pine, which is a relatively soft species of wood, unlike the hardwoods that I typically work on. We're gonna get going. Hello to the 2 people in the chat. Great to have you here. We're gonna start rolling. So, cheers. This is just for everybody who's here right now. I have no idea what this audio is going to start sounding like. I'm going to start putting these fans on to blow out all the sawdust out of the garage. I say garage. It's a garage door. It's a shop. But I'm going to have these fans on. So if anyone wants to just drop it in the chat how it sounds, this is going to be a little bit more of what I would consider like a visually appealing live stream today, rather than a super talk-based one. So, all right, what's going on? I see one person in the chat. Good to have you here. So yeah, we're just gonna start going, and we'll see. We'll see how people like a more, I don't know, tactile live stream today. So, again, we're sanding this piece, we're trying to finish it. I'm going to start out with something called a disc sander. That is going to, the verb I always use is plow through a lot of wood really quickly. What is this? This is a console table. It's currently flipped belly up right now so that I can get the underside of it. Yeah, but this is a console table. And I'm going to start with the disc sander. And a disc sander is this guy. All it does is just rotate. It does not oscillate and rotate. It just rotates. And it does it very, very quickly. So it takes away wood extremely quickly. You have to have some touch with it to really be able to make sure you don't take out big gouges. But I want to use that first to kind of smooth everything down And then I'm going to use the random orbital sander to really make sure it is finish ready. That's the goal. We're gonna get going because I have a lot of things I'm trying to get done today. Something to note about this piece is how unbelievably heavy it is. So it's really difficult to move it around and change its position to get to different sides. So hopefully I can get quite a bit of this done just as I have it before I need to flip it to a different orientation. I'm gonna try to get you set up. Yeah, that's probably good. Okay. And then yeah, chat, if I start going and this is, I don't know, unpleasant to listen to, I just got my mic on right here and I think it picks up noises close to me really well. Hopefully it's not picking up these fans that I have blowing out the dust, but just drop it in the chat if it starts to sound a little wonky. Let me make sure, let's see. Yes, Snoopy, glad to have you here. Elias, say 6'7". I don't know why I'm saying that. I don't know if that's a trick. I've been tricked on these streams before. So I said it once. Hopefully that's not a trick. I'm too engaged in what I'm doing to catch things like that right now. Here we go. Yeah, just let me know if it sounds bad and I'll do something about it. Okay. We're not plugged in. That would help. Got the wrong sander plugged. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank you, Snoopy. I appreciate it.
Let's try this. I'm gonna get very, very dusty here. We're gonna give this a go. That might be too difficult to get to with this guy. So we are going to, what do we got? It's outside of, okay, awesome. Thank you, Nightbot. Can I get down here reliably? That's pretty good. Whew. All right. We're gonna switch over to a random orbital sander. Let's see. I'll say what up to everybody real fast.
Oh, goodness. Okay. What is going on? Let me get back to the chat here. Martin, good to have you here, bud. So I was using something called a disc sander from DeWalt. And unlike a random orbital sander, the disc sander literally just rotates. So it's a lot like an angle grinder, really. But instead of having some sort of bit with really, really aggressive teeth on it, you can put whatever grit of sandpaper you want to. So this is pine that I'm working with here behind me. And it's really, really soft. And all I was trying to do is just essentially kind of get the major marks off of it. I had used a hand plane, and there were just some kind of chunky blowout areas from that hand plane all over this. So the disc sander, I had a 120 grit disc on it, and that was just to get the major marks out. Now that I've done that, I'm going to be using a random orbital sander, still with a 120 grit sandpaper. And then now what I'm trying to do is really get the inside, this is the inside of the console table, trying to get it really smooth so that it's ready for a finish. What I've decided to do is get the inside perfect first so that I can then flip it right side up. The inside should no longer get hit by anything, nicked on anything, and that will stay pristine for when I do finish it later, it'll be golden. So now that I've gotten everything kind of smooth, pretty smooth, I'm gonna use this random orbital sander, which rotates and oscillates. That's what gets you the finish level surface for wood. So here we go.
Here's something I can do for you to make this
more visually appealing, and this helps with the actual woodworking process as well. What's going on, John? Good to have you here. Something that I like to do when I'm sanding is, let's see how quickly I can find a pencil. Here's a pencil. So what I like to do, and I'm not terribly worried about this surface just because it is the bottom surface, and this table is only, I mean, the bottom surface is like 18 inches off the ground. But what I will do is I will color all over this with pencil. That way, when I sand through it, when I sand through the pencil that is, I know that I have got that spot. My pencil's dull. Let's see, can you even see this? All right. Cool. Yeah, I'm relatively on the screen here. And as with all my videos, you're probably yelling through the screen about how opposite my workflow is of ergonomic. Like, I'm on the ground right now, knee on the concrete. It's kind of a grind down here. The problem is, it's just me right now in the wood shop. It's just me typically. Every once in a while, sometimes I'll get somebody out here to help me move things, but not for this guy. And it is far too heavy to lift up onto any ergonomic surface. I could, theoretically, I have an engine hoist, a crane, if you will, and sometimes I will use that crane to help me maneuver things. The problem is, I feel as if using that crane for this piece is going to be more trouble than it's worth. And the reason I feel that way is because this is pine, and pine's really, really soft compared to the typical species that I use, like oak. And I'm actually just kind of worried that the pine would, I don't know, get dented up by the straps that I use. What do we got going on? Anyone in the chat saying anything, needing anything? No, right on. Great. Let's get back to it. So now I've got all this pencil stuff on here, and this is a really nice technique to get high quality finishes, because you know where you've sanded and where you haven't sanded. And hopefully it will also help you guys to see visually what still needs to be done. I think I've positioned you in a decent spot. Let's get after it.
And I don't know if you can hear me through my mask here, but the idea is that the last few passes, you want to be going with the grain. And the concept behind that is if you're going with the grain, then if you do leave any weird sanding marks, it kind of gets jumbled up. Like, what's the grain, what's the sanding mark? If you were to go against the grain, it would be a lot more clear that, oh, that's not natural. And at the very end, actually, you know what I want to do first? I'm going to do one thing.
I'm going to get a very, let's see, there we go. I'm going to get a piece of wood, and then, do I have any spare 120s around? You bet I do. So you're probably thinking, hey, that random orbital sander, that might not get all the way into the corner, and you were correct. So what I can do is I can wrap this 120 around a piece of wood, and then if it starts to actually glide, that's the trick, you can make sure that you're getting all the way into the corner. And the reason I want to do this first is because I'm definitely going to be leaving some marks by doing this. I think the marks that I'll be leaving are better than if I didn't do this at all. And then I know that I can get, yeah, it's much more smooth. I know that I can get up to that spot with the random orbital sander to clear away most of the marks. Yeah. I could try to tape this, but I'm telling you, the pine's very, very soft, so it's not taking a whole lot to just get the corner. And the good news is, with this corner, this piece is so low to the ground, and it's also in this nook, this 3-walled nook. And so very few people will even be able to see, I mean, no one's gonna be able to see the underside of this or these internal faces right here up until like, right, you can't even see where I'm pointing. Up until, you know, the bottom like 10 inches, or in this case, the top 10 inches. So let's get back to the random orbital sander.
I'm now
happy with that bottom. Let's check the chat real fast, see if anything's going on. What's up, everybody? Yeah, the multi-tool for the corners, definitely. Yeah, one of those that kind of has like, wow, look at that. Look at that. Maybe I'm wearing these too tight here. What's going on, John? Well, you answered my question. Glad that I could do that, Austin. Let's see, David, good to have you here. Graziano. Let me know if I pronounced that correctly or incorrectly. My guess is incorrectly. Cool name, though. Yeah, this is a bottom side, so I'm not, like, look at how short this thing is. This is on risers. Oh! Like, it's super short. This table is very, very short. So no one's looking under those corners, and it's pine. So I was happy with just doing a little bit of hand sanding in the corners. What's going on? Edgar, good to have you. So now we need to get these sides. There's part of me that wants to try to flip this onto the side, but I don't want, I don't know. I feel pretty confident that these wouldn't like sag in if I oriented this different, but it's so easy to just do the sides really quickly. I'm not gonna worry about it. I will, for everybody, get you a better camera angle. That's pretty good. And then I will do this again. And I already got the internal part right here with the hand sanding, so I'm good there. And if you're just tuning in, all we're doing is I'm gonna color with pencil so I know where I've sanded and where I haven't. And that's a technique that I'm gonna use kind of independently of doing this live stream, but also, hopefully for the live stream, it's much easier to tell what's going on. So just marking with pencil, and this wood's so soft, it almost feels like the pencil is like digging into it rather than just leaving lead on it. Like right there, that really felt like I actually put some, you know, depth into a pass. What you'll notice is, maybe you don't notice, but sanding that bottom face right here, it went actually really quickly as far as sanding goes. I would say that if I was doing like a hardwood, like oak or walnut's a little softer, but like oak or especially pecan, that would have taken maybe like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get all the pencil off if you're doing it correctly. It just takes so long to sand something properly. But with this pine, it's really, really quick because the wood is so soft. All right, back at it. Let me check the chat one more time. Any questions? I'm gonna add some feet to it. I might add some, like, what are they called? Little felt pads, but no actual feet. The felt pads will just make sure that it doesn't scuff as I'm sliding it into place. But I do want them to be low profile. So this is, you can't see that. This is the bottom. We have it flipped upside down right now. Yeah, so maybe felt pads, but that's probably about it. And they would have to be really, really fine felt pads, because I think the goal is to have this look as if it's sitting flat on the ground. All right, back at it.
Oh, and then while I'm going, if someone could, I guess this will be the litmus test. If someone could tell me, can you hear what I'm saying when I have this mask on? That would be a great thing to know in the chat. All right, let's get after it.
So let's see, first of all, okay, wow, excellent. You can hear me when I'm talking, and yeah, well, I even have that on. So to answer some questions here, making it for yourself. Ryan, great question. This is a commissioned piece. Let me get out of the way so people can see it when I'm talking. This is a commissioned piece for someone that I've worked, you know, I think I made like 5 pieces for them before. Great clients. They're very nice. They have, I think, good taste. This one's a little bit more simplistic. They are very particular about what they want, so that's always a little, yeah, can throw up some nerves. But yeah, it's a console table that goes into this little nook, this 3-walled nook. So the outsides, you can't really see it. The back, you cannot really see it. The underside right here, that's gonna be, you know, on the underside of the table. You'll be able to see right here, kind of, not really well. Same with the other side. Yeah, so that's what I'm making. For those of you that don't know, I'll go ahead and reintroduce myself because I have no idea how many of you are repeat people versus new people. I'm Tanner. This is my business. It's called Outer Woods. The business, let's see, I've been doing it 4 3/4 years. I used to be a biomedical engineer. Quit that, wanted to be my own, you know, captain of my own ship sort of thing. Started Outer Woods, and it's been 4 3/4 years of just slowly grinding, making cooler, bigger, better pieces, trying to find the right clientele, trying to figure out how to price my work, all sorts of things like that. So that's what's going on. But the other thing I wanted to say, this piece, I will admit, is a relatively simplistic piece. This is what the client wanted for that exact space. They already had these beams from a different project. It was like beams, like rafters in their bedroom. So they had extra, thank you, Judah, I appreciate it. They had extra beams that they wanted me to use for the materials. And it was a tricky project, actually. The shape is obviously not very difficult. It's just an upside down U with not even miter joints, but they're butt joints. The trick was I don't really have tools that can accurately and reliably cut through and deal with. They're like 7.5 inch, I think 7.25 by 5.5 inch beams. So those are thick. So I was having to do things where I'd like run it over my table saw and having to flip it, run it the other way to make the cut go all the way through, use the jointer, but then I couldn't use the jointer when I started doing all this stuff because I couldn't bring the piece over the jointer. So relatively difficult, even though it looks pretty simplistic. But I also want to let you know, while I'm just taking a break really quick, the pieces we'll be making both on the live videos you're seeing today, but then also on all of the long form YouTube videos are going to be spicier, much spicier than that. For instance, here's the next one we're working on. This is not for anyone, this is for a show that I have coming up in November. So really cool concept there. Waterfall joints in the corner. It's hard to be a weatherman. How do I point? That's not it. Okay. Yeah, so really cool. This is a live edge pecan slab, and this was a walnut glue up that I tried to mirror, geez, the live edge of it. I am not putting resin in that. I'm actually going to leave it spaced out with some dowels, and I might even put some lights underneath it. That'd be a really cool effect. But yeah, appreciate it, Judah. Glad to have you here, bud. Yeah, so the trick that I'm still trying to figure out is on these live videos, I want to show you guys cool live videos. Like I don't just want to show you, cleaning the shop or something. So the live videos are going to hopefully be me doing cool stuff. The trick is me doing that stuff. I also need to film it horizontally for long form YouTube videos and vertically for Instagram videos and for YouTube shorts. But vertically filming, I have to film on my camera here on my phone, but that's the same thing that I use for my live. So I might need another recording device. So that's the kink that we're trying to work out right now, is how to film everything I need so that you guys can see it in real time, but you can also see it later when it's polished, edited, a nice, nice succinct video. What do we got, Ryan? Oh, first of all, Roke, is that how you say that? Nice to have you here. I'm probably mispronouncing 95% of the names that I attempt incorrectly. Ryan, what do we got? I'm currently making my first coffee table. That's what I'm talking about. Making things for yourself and your girlfriend to practice. Hopefully you can start selling. Yeah, so you're doing it perfectly. That's essentially how I started. Again, I was an engineer before this, and during COVID, I started making things that I thought were interesting. And when I really wanted to make the switch to an entrepreneurial endeavor, I made a few, they were actually serving boards / cutting boards. And when I had a friend or two say, hey, I'd pay money for that, then it was like, okay, the concept has now been proven. It's just how do I make these better, more efficiently, and charge what my time is worth. And that's been the last 4 3/4 years trying to do that. But the first thing that I had to do was essentially just make pieces. I didn't know if anyone would like them, but I would make pieces and then I would put them on Facebook Marketplace. And the goal was 3 things. Number 1, try to recoup the materials money. You could pretty reliably do that. Number 2, get your skills to just keep stepping up so you feel more confident doing crazier things. Then number 3, this is the most important part, you need pictures to be able to show people to then start meriting making stuff like this and them to trust you that you can. So making stuff for yourself and your girlfriend is an excellent place to start. I really like the concept of starting a woodworking business or any other crafts or handmade business because I was told once, and I like that concept, in business, there's kind of 2 ways you can go about starting a business. The first way is you create an idea that's like a pie in the sky idea, and you develop it for a year, 2, 3 years, whatever. And then at one point you turn it on to see if your pie in the sky idea worked. The other way is to figure out how to make your first dollar doing that business as quick as possible. And then once you make $1, you can figure out how to make not $1, but $2 in the same amount, or hopefully not twice as much time. And then it's just a scaling game. So doing a craft business like woodworking, ceramics, whatever, those are the 2 that I could think of immediately. Knife making, leatherworks, you name it. Painting, sculpting. It's actually relatively easy to make your first dollar. Like, I guarantee you that most people have friends or family to where if you could make them a really, really inexpensive coffee table or charcuterie board, and that's just in woodworking, they would probably pay for it. And then you've made your first dollar. Okay, how do I get better tools to then make $2 in a similar amount of time? How do I pick better projects that are more efficient with my time? So that's what I've been grappling with the last 4 3/4 years. The thing that I'm now in the midst of is I want to try to do a lot of scaling with telling stories about these pieces with content, live videos, YouTube longs, Instagrams, YouTube shorts. So that is how I'm trying to scale. And that is one where it's very difficult to make your first dollar out of it. But I started on Instagram before I did YouTube, as hard as we're going on YouTube right now. And on Instagram, we managed to, I managed to scale it in about 3 years to like 130,000 followers. And so I know how to scale content. So then it's like the question of, okay, how do you make your first dollars off of content? Great, once you've proven that, then you can figure out how to scale that. And to me, that I can understand how to scale those numbers better than I can understand how to scale making 20 dining tables instead of 2. You know what I mean? And some people, it works the other way. Some people hate creating content, and instead they love to, what I would consider be more like a business shark, hire people, get a bigger space, get better tools. And I've gone some of that route, but yeah, I don't know, that doesn't click as well with me. I like to interact with people. So there you go. Mike, what's going on? Good to have you back. I remember you from the other day. Good to see you. Let's see, Ryan, what do we got? I was a welder. Okay, cool. Yeah, welding is quite the art form. But I hear welders are in short supply. Am I wrong there? I don't know. You're gonna start incorporating, yeah, metal and woodworking. That'd be sick. Gotta save up for the welder. Yeah, I have no idea how expensive welders are. I have never tried welding. It'd be a fantastic skill to be able to implement with woodworking, because metal and wood is a really nice combo. Yeah, I'm bad at the social media part. I still feel like I am. I think the trick with it is literally just shots on goal. Like the videos that I was making at the beginning, both Instagram and YouTube and these lives, and I'm still in the live throes of figuring out how to do them. But I think I mean, early on, just atrocious content on my end. But if you take a bunch of shots at goal, they're bound to start going in, but then also you figure out from all those shots how to take better shots. And so your, I guess, rate of success on those shots goes up. But yeah, social media is a interesting beast, isn't it? Cool. Yeah, Mike, great to have you back in. Did I miss any other chats? Oh, $1,500 for a welder. Yikes. Yeah, that's an investment. I remember at the very beginning of when I was doing this, I was using my dad's Ryobi belt sander, and that was the sander that I had. And it died. I killed the sander. I don't remember what I was doing with it. I'm sure I was using it incorrectly. It was like, yeah, 7-year-old Ryobi belt sander, and I killed it. And I was like, man, a new sander is like $75, and I don't know if I want to spend $75 to give this a go. Luckily I did, and we're still rolling 4 3/4 years later. And I say 4 3/4 years, you guys might have heard me say this before if this isn't your first time on the chat, because I think 5 years is like that checkpoint for like what all the small business stats are about. Like 95% of businesses fail before year 5. So I've got a quarter of a year left to just make it. We'll take out loans if we need to. We'll fail on year 5 and day 1 so that we can at least not be part of those statistics, whatever it takes. But I think we're gonna be all right. Something catastrophic would probably have to happen. Knock on wood. And I have a lot of it to knock on here. Let's get going again. We're gonna get this sanded. What do we got? Yeah. Black & Decker. That is the brand. My dad had a Black & Decker drill from like the 70s, and that's the drill that I used, I think, for the first year of this business. Like corded, hardly could turn fast enough to drill a hole in a 2x4, but that one's still kicking. Luckily, that one's gonna have to go in like the Smithsonian or something. Yikes, there's a lot of sawdust in that mask. Yeah, Black & Decker. Are they still around? They still making things? If so, maybe I should, Black & Decker, if you're out there, sponsor us. And also, we throw this in the chat every time. This is McCoy's bandana. McCoy's, sponsor us. What are you doing? I know one day the owner of McCoy's is going to be in this chat. It's statistically unlikely that if I streamed 4 hours every day forever, Stephen McCoy, I don't know if that's his name, would be in the chat at some point. Sponsor us, Stephen. We'll do you right. All right, let's sand this. I'm wasting time. As I'm coloring on this, let me just kind of give you some updates on what's going on in the shop right now. What do we got cooking up? What are we preparing for, etc. So we have this custom piece. We just finished a custom piece the other day. They're going to the same house. That custom piece was a nightmare. I actually had to redo a significant chunk of it, and that's been the topic of some of the live videos this last week. So I will be thrilled to get these out of the shop. This one we're trying to get completely sanded, hopefully within the next like hour here. I have to kind of decide what of the cracks I want to address, and I'd probably just do it with wood glue and sawdust. After all, this is a beam, and there are cracks in beams, so I'm not horrifically worried about dealing with them. But as I mentioned earlier, we got a particular client, and I don't know. I need to kind of look at them and assess the situation. But we're gonna sand this, and there's some corners that I'll do in a second, and I'll show you how I do that. Then the big thing is we have our biggest market / show of the year that's coming up in late November. That's what this piece behind me is being made for. So hopefully we can sell that there. I don't typically just get to make pieces that I like because I don't know where to sell them yet. And I don't want to sell them on Facebook Marketplace because that's where people go to try to get a grill that's $300 for $40. So not a fantastic place to sell elite furniture that takes me 40 or 50 hours to make. But we got to make a bunch of pieces for that show. I'm talking like 8 pieces of that caliber. And that's going to be very difficult to do by late November. It's like November 19th, I want to say, is the start date. Anyway, we have that. There's also a lot of YouTube videos that we're trying to put out to keep up with the momentum that we've recently seen on YouTube. And I don't know when that's going to get done, because those videos, like a 15-minute video on YouTube, I think it's taking me like 40 hours, maybe like 30 hours to edit. And I don't know where these 30 hours are going to be coming from. So those are the big things. The other thing that kind of just came in the other day is that this restaurant that I've been working with and talking with wants like 75 sushi boards. They kind of drag their feet, and now they're picking their feet back up right when I don't want them to. So somehow we got to get that done. And this, and the pieces, and the YouTube videos, and the live videos. And to do that, we're going to sand this face right here.
right. Okay.
Let's check the chat. What's going on here? Okay. Yeah, we're still chilling in the chat. Good to have you guys all here. So the next thing we want to do is I want to address the corners of the piece here. Where are you from, Ryan? I'm in Texas, so it's hot down here. It's October, but it's still hot. Luckily, we're early enough in the day to wait. I'll show you what the outside looks like. It's pretty nice. I got a cool little view here with the shop that I rent. But the shadow creeps into the shop all day, and about 1 or 2 p.m. the sun gets into the shop and starts blasting. So right now it's still okay. What we want to do, the interior designer that I'm working with for this client, he came over to the shop and he had a few things he would like me to address. One of them was right here, saying that it didn't quite look flat. So we have to address, does it not? I don't know. We have to address that. We got to sand this down, make that nice and smooth. And then I want to round off all of these corners, just with like a piece of hand sandpaper, just round off all of these corners. That is going to do 2 things. Number 1, it's going to make it look just a little bit more finished. But then number 2, hopefully it will make it to where we don't have things splintering off, etc. So the first thing is I want to, and I kind of feel it, but I just want to sand this to try to have one nice smooth surface. I would love to use a planer, a hand planer to do it, but this hand planer, it was not a gift, but someone lent it to me, and it just, it's not, the blade's not very sharp, and it's really difficult to hand plane end grain like this. You kind of need you need a very good hand planer, and I do not have that. So that's not gonna work. We're just gonna sand this. The trick is sanders don't really, their job is not to make things perfectly flat, it's to make things perfectly smooth, but in doing so, you can make it not perfectly flat. So we're gonna see if I can make it perfectly flat.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not too worried
About that hand sander, the Orbital sander, plowing through a whole lot of end grain and like kind of making this wave and undulate and stuff. It's sanding through end grain, even if it's soft wood, is actually really difficult to do. But just what I did, I was trying to hold it on the high side, and I'm feeling it. It's pretty smooth. Now I just want to roll over this corner, but let me do the other side real fast just to, I don't know, stay consistent. I see some stuff in the chat. What do we got? Yeah, square, straight edge. I can, yeah, I can do that in a second. Still using your hand, I see. I do use my hands quite a bit for this job. Try a low angle jack plane. I don't think I have one of those, Dino. Sounds cool. I bet you that's the perfect tool for this job. All I'm trying to do, like, I had to make 2 cuts, right? One cut right here, and then I had to flip it, and I had to make 1 cut right here. And when I made those 2 different cuts, you could feel where the 2 cuts met. It was maybe like a 64th of an inch difference. And I guess that's what the interior designer was seeing. And here, we'll get a little right angle. We'll see how we did. We'll see how we did. That's pretty good. That's very good, actually. And then, for the hell of it, yeah, we're rocking. We're rocking. Yes, I bet you those tools are the exact tools that you need, but I don't have them, and so I've got to make do with what I have today. We'll do the other side real fast. Put you where you can see it. These pieces of tape right here were telling me to address these things, and we are currently addressing it. I think what's going to be hard about actually finishing this piece is, like, every time you move it to get to another surface, how do you move it because it's so heavy without dinging it up and damaging stuff that you have already deemed finished?
I don't know. That's a question that I actually don't know the answer to. I'm asking you guys, how do you do it? Cool. So then, here's what I mean. I'll take this off for just a second.
You couldn't handle, I don't know what that means. Oh, I see. Times you need a 16-inch table saw blade. Yeah, that'd be great. And then the one and only Nicole. Are we beefing right now, Nicole? Seems like we're beefing, and I don't even know what about. Welcome to the chat, Nicole. Happy to have you here. So we're gonna work on these corners because right now they're pretty sharp, and I just want to take the bite off of them, see if I can round them over so that when this is either being turned and stuff like that while I'm finishing it, or when it's sliding into place in the home, these corners don't catch and they're nice. So all I'm gonna do, I got 120 grit in the hand, and I'm just going to roll them over with, like, right there, the crease of my hand. I actually really like doing this. It does get very hot. You're not supposed to probably use these discs to do this. That's so nice already. And then I will hit that one more time with the Orbital sander, because now I have these streaks going across the grain. But yeah, you're not supposed to do this probably with discs, and the reason is that you have these holes, And if the holes line up like that, then all of a sudden your hand gets really hot extremely quickly. All right, Nicole tried to, oh, nope. The message was retracted. Nicole, we're cool, dude. We're cool. That's feeling fantastic. Get the back. This is something that I would recommend on any and every woodworking piece, is to round over all of the edges. Top side, bottom side, all the edges. If you do that, the piece instantly gets more professional, in my opinion. People, whether they know it or not, consciously, subconsciously, they're going to feel all the corners of a piece. Yeah, this bottom one, maybe not. They probably can't get their hand underneath that. But they are probably going to see it. And especially like, you can't see that, especially like the underside right here. That's something that I think oftentimes gets overlooked. Because people are like, it's the underside. That's not the top side of the table. But how many times do you go up to a table and just like feel underneath it, you know? And if it's smooth, again, consciously or subconsciously, people will recognize it. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you don't do it correctly, people will notice, and they'll know that it's not as it should be. And they will equate that with lower quality. But if you do it correctly, they might not actually notice. But if you add that to all the other things you're doing to try to make your piece high quality, it all adds up. And they'll be like, yeah, I don't know why, but that's a really nice piece. At least that's how I have it in my head when people interact with my pieces. So I'm giving this a pretty good rolled over corner here. And this bottom one, again, is mostly so that things don't catch as I'm moving it. You'll kind of be able to see it. And it kind of hides any imperfections, I suppose. If all the faces and angles aren't perfectly flat and square. Yeah, I'm getting everything. Oh, what do we got? We got the chat going off. Yeah, you definitely could do a round over bit or a chamfer bit. Those would definitely work. Taking an eighth off with a chamfer bit, very subtle. Yeah. That's probably, I mean, yes, what you're talking about is by the books. I don't know. I just do this, and I like the feel of it. But what you're talking about is a very even way to do it, for sure. And I will need to go back over this because I'm making scuff marks. Cool. And for those in the chat that don't know the terms that we were just using, there's a tool called a router. And a router basically has a flat surface upon which you can make the router ride on other flat surfaces. So like the router could ride across this. And then the key feature for the router is that it has a bit that spins just in a circle, like a drill, essentially. And you can change out the router bit for all sorts of different bits that do different things. And one of the things that you can do is exchange it for a router bit. Some of them are called chamfer bits, which makes an angled corner. And then some of them, I think there might be different names for it, like a radius bit, a roundover bit, things like that. But with those, it makes a little curved corner. And they have different diameters for those corners. And so you could, instead of doing what I'm doing, you could go get a router, and I have one. It's over there, but I don't want to use it. Put the little radius bit on there and have it perfectly even. And I don't know, this is just what I do. Sometimes I'll use a router bit if there is something really specific I want to do. I'll never do a chamfer with my hands. That would be extremely difficult to do. But I don't know, I just like to ease over the corners. I'm not making a huge radius here, I'm just easing the corners so they're not as sharp to the touch. I think that also helps kind of capture the beam look. I don't think beams are supposed to be really super angled. I see things going on in the chat. Go to work. I don't know if that's Michael telling me to go to work or Michael saying he's got to go to work. Michael, I'm making a console table. It is currently flipped upside down, and I'm trying to sand and address everything internally so that a little later I can flip this bad boy over and sand and address everything externally without the internal stuff taking damage. And so right now I've sanded this surface, I've sanded the bottom surface, and I'm just easing the corners. And yeah, I like to use my hand and hand sandpaper. I don't know, maybe it makes me feel more in tune with the piece, like the good old days. I've got a bit of the fish brain, bit of the space cadet brain, and seems like a lot of activation energy for me to go find my router and then change out the bit. I think the router is actually hooked up to a router table right now. Change the bit, and then I'd have to flip this and orient it a lot of different ways. I'd have to make the bit perfectly. You gotta raise and lower the bit so that the radius hits correctly. It's kind of hard to explain if you haven't ever used a router, but if your curved radius bit, here, I'll just show you. This is a huge one that I just did for another piece. I could not hand sand this. This was a, let's see, where's the angle? There's the angle. So that is the curved router bit. This little bearing rides on the internal wall, or the external wall, the wall. This rides on top, and this cuts it perfectly rounded over. And you have to set this red bit at the correct height, or else you get some weird geometry going on. So, yeah, that's what's going on there. Yes, okay. Good to have you here, Michael. Okay, let's get this. I'm going to be very happy when this piece finally leaves my shop. I've grown very tired of it. Starting to look really nice, but I'm just tired of it. All right. That's looking great. While I'm here, I suppose I could get the exterior. And then I need to get that corner free floating. There we go. Just got it off of the risers that it's on. I'm gonna put my mask back on. I feel like I'm getting a lot of stuff flying around. I'm just blowing out my mask.
I'll still talk to you. Where'd my sandpaper go? Hello? Here it is. You know the show Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe? It used to be on the Discovery Channel. Did he ever do a woodworking episode? He should have, if he didn't. That looks nice. Okay.
This guy over here. Yeah. Pieces in the queue. Oh, my mask just compressed my esophagus. That was pretty gnarly. Almost died there. What up, Dana Brandflake? Good to have you here. Taking your time to make a very special product. I appreciate that, Michael. Okay, yeah, pieces in the queue. I don't know how many of you saw this earlier, but this is the next one that we're making. This bad boy is for a market that we have coming up in like a month and a half. Super, super cool. Let's see if I can be a weatherman. This was a live edge slab of pecan wood right here. And this was a walnut plank to plank glue up where I traced, I traced the live edge of the pecan slab and I mirrored it. I'm not filling this in with resin. I've done a lot of resin work in the past, but I'm not doing resin. I'm actually just gonna leave that as a little space them out with dowels, but it's a coffee table. You have two waterfall joints, well, I guess four, two on each side. So that is the next one in the queue. But there's a lot in the queue for that market especially. Let's keep, oh man. Yeah, it really honked my, my windpipe trying to take the mask off. All right.
So I left this piece of blue tape because there was a piece that got chunked off right here. So we're gonna see if I can kind of sculpt that with the hand sandpaper. Let's see. We're getting there. Ow. Jeez, that hurt. Very good. So, had to get a little artistic to get that crack to go, the chunk to get smoothed out. But I think that looks very nice now. Nice. Okay. That looks good. When we flip it over, we'll look again. Oh, let's see, I'll get this right now. What do we got? Yeah, I kind of went overboard on the mask here, but I don't know. It's whatever. I don't replace them enough to where it makes a huge difference in terms of price. But yeah, I hear you, Ryan. You could probably, yeah, this is like gaseous, I think, is what these filters filter out. I think that no sawdust is getting through here, and you can go with less expensive ones to get the sawdust out, but alas, here we are. Okay, how are we gonna get right here? Okay. Get you in. Let's get you in. Sorry for jiggling the camera. It kind of feels like this sandpaper is getting a little tired. So I might have to switch. Okay. It's always tough getting these corners. There we go. Beautiful. All right.
Whew. All right. Now, let's check the chat. How we doing, chat? Okay. Ryan's off to Home Depot. Really appreciate you stopping in, telling us a little about your story. Yeah. Good luck on the coffee table. Keep us updated in the future live sessions or over comments or whatever about how that ends up going. Golden oak is very popular right now. Yeah, are you talking about the stain? Cheers, Ryan. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, the stain. I don't know. That's cool. This is pine, and there is a witch's brew that I've been working on with the interior designer for the stain of this exact piece right here. So it's not golden, it's more, I don't know, it's like a light brown, light gray sort of thing. Joe Mama, what's going on, baby? Yeah, but I think I've seen that color, golden oak, at maybe Home Depot or something like that, if we're talking about the same thing. So I've now got the inside. There's one thing I need to do. All these corners that I just hit, I can just see that I kind of scuffed it across the grain, or just scuffed it going with the grain, but it's just a different mark. So I am going to very lightly just hit all those areas with the random Orbital sander one more time to get the more streaky sanding non-existent. So let's do that. And then we're gonna flip this piece over and start working on the top.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, let's flip this thing over and let's start working on some of the more client-facing sides of this. I realized that I didn't get these back corners. We'll get those a little bit later. I don't have to bore you with that. Okay, so I'll put you over here, and then I'll just kind of talk through trying to flip this thing. And the goal is to not damage what we've just done. That's the goal. Luckily, most of it's on this inside, so that isn't too scary. I am gonna have to flip it to that again at some point, because I'll need to finish it like this. But we can do that later. Uh-oh. It's just on my fingers. Ow. Okay. Let's move it back if we are able to. Because I'd love to be able to have it sitting still on these towels after it turns once, turns twice. Yeah, it's wanting to go now. But I can hold it in place. Whoa. All right, we're gonna go. Cool. And I guess I could move it again. Okay. Ah. Fuck. Yeah, it happens that quick. So I just landed, I just landed on that hand planer that I didn't move, right on the corner. And so the hand planer just kind of gouged out that corner that we just tried to sand. Shoot. That's fine. Deal with it later. It's in the back, so luckily that wasn't front and center and something that we have to address. So now this is what we're looking like. Whew. Oh, the back's hurting, gang. The back is definitely hurting. Let's, trying to think. So the only areas that I want to definitely fill in are basically the seam right here and the seam right here. I think maybe the crack. Yeah, maybe the crack. Maybe the crack. Yeah, let's sand this. And then we're not gonna get a finish on it today, or at least right now. I mean, we're still 2 hours away from that happening. So let me just sand this a little bit more, show you a little bit of what I'm doing on the top, and we'll keep rolling. But yeah, let's get the random orbital sander and let's get the top going. I'm gonna just kind of go on it for a little while without doing the pencil. Well, shoot, I'll do the pencil a couple times. There are a few marks that I see that I don't think the pencil trick is going to be a perfect indication. Like I see 2 dents right here. I have no idea what those are from. Maybe I put something on the table. But we're going to do the pencil so that you guys can see that. And see sanding progress on the top here. And if you're just joining and you haven't seen the sand or the pencil trick, yeah, the pencil trick is so that you can get a more even sanding on a layer. And the idea is you color all over something with pencil, and then you sand off the pencil. And when you have successfully sanded off the pencil, you know that that area has been sanded. And I'm working on pine right now, and it's a very soft wood, hence all of the issues with dents and everything. So this is gonna go really quickly. But again, there's a couple spots where I feel a dent in it. New Roots Dynamic. Hey brother, what's going on? I didn't get to see the build. How have you, how have I joined these sides to the top? Great question. I used dominoes. So there's 4 dominoes going into the tabletop and 4 dominoes going into these legs, and that is how it's connected. It's not just smushed up and glued. We got some dominoes in there. The trick was getting this internal face really flat and jointed correctly without being able to use a jointer. So that was hand planing, and then same thing. It was really difficult to get the end grain of the beams going side to side super flat on the end because I didn't have one tool that could make a pass all the way through it. So I had to do 2 cuts, and that's really difficult to line up those cuts perfectly. So that was a little tricky. This has been much harder of a piece than originally I thought it was going to be when I looked at the design that I made. But yeah, almost done. We're just sanding it today, talking through kind of just how I try to finish things. So yeah, I'm gonna put the mask on. I think you can still hear me, so I might say a few things. We're just gonna try to sand through all of this pencil. Can you see? You know what? Let's do it this way. Yeah, that's the view. There we go. So you can see all of it. I gotcha. I wasn't sure if tenons or not. Yeah, or tenons or not. You got a domino doweling tool. It's basically the same. Yes. Yeah. The dominoes and dowels are really cool. I have only recently just started doing those a lot more frequently, but I really like them. It just lines everything up so well. Here we go.
One thing I'm going to do real fast, because we know that I want to fill in some of those cracks, and I want to do sawdust and wood glue. The sawdust in here is probably 98% of this, but I know there's some white oak in here too. So I'm going to empty this and refill it up with just this. There you go. Cool.
Okay. What do we got? I saw some things happen in the chat. Yeah, what's going on? Okay. All right. Thank you, New Roots Dynamic. Yeah, it's kind of cathartic to just watch sanding, right? This is the view. I hope so. Yeah, videography is not my strongest suits, so I tried to get you to where this is being lit up from the correct direction. Let's see. New Roots Dynamic, is this a hobby or are you doing this full time? I do this full time. I started this business called Outer Woods, and the running joke in the live is that I started it 4 3/4 years ago. Yeah, and I say that because 5 years, that's the magic statistic about small business failing before 5 years, whatever percent. So we got to make it at least to 5 years, and then we can go out in a ball of flames. Let's see. Yes. It's what I hear a few hours a day. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, but no, I started this business a little while ago. This is what I do full time. Mostly I'm making custom pieces like this guy, but the fun thing is we have a market coming up in mid-November where I get to make what I would just kind of consider like creative, very showy pieces that I just want to make. Yeah, 4 3/4 years, so a fortnight. Isn't a fortnight 14 days? I don't know, I might be wrong about that. Or there might be a joke that's just way over my head right now. Let's see. Yeah, you are correct. Some businesses do take a long time. Yeah, and I'm in a transitionary period in this business. For anyone new, just coming into the chat, there's kind of a few different ways to scale something that is very hands-on, craft, art-centered business. And I, just the way I am, who I am, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in my little fish brain for how to scale the business in what I would consider a very classic business scaling way, where you get more employees and then you kind of go away from the artistry of it, and now you're trying to just crank out as many pieces as possible, because now you're managing the people, you need a bigger shop space, you need more efficient tools, and then you need a hell of a lot of demand, which we have demand, but the demand is tricky to meet right now because it's so spread out. Like, this piece is very different from the one that I made right before this, is very different from the one I make right after this. So I don't know how to optimize or scale something that's that highly custom. It's done, it can be done. I worked with another wood shop that had CNC machines, 60-inch wide belt sanders. They had crazy tools, and I would hire them so that I could use their tools to do really efficient processes. But they made custom pieces. I think they kind of niched down into like countertops and just standard looking tables where yeah, I kind of do all sorts of different things. So the way that I'm trying to scale is more towards content creation and telling stories about these pieces. But that takes a while to build those foundations. We've done a good job of it on Instagram, got that channel going pretty good. But unfortunately, 3 years ago when I really started taking content creation seriously, I picked arguably the wrong platform to hit hard. I hit Instagram hard and neglected YouTube up until about 8 months ago. And so now it's the YouTube push to try to do what I did on Instagram here on YouTube. So that's how I'm electing to scale. We'll probably bring in some help, maybe a person or two for hands-on stuff, but it's tricky because I still hardly trust myself to make pieces that are this high-end and have price tags that are this high-end. And so I don't know how to trust someone that doesn't have 4 3/4 years experience. I know that they'll be doing things like sanding, which is pretty easy to learn. But yeah, tricky to scale. Things are always tricky to scale. I saw a few different, just use AI to make furniture. right? Damn. I definitely do use AI these days. Primarily, I just talk to ChatGPT and the little voice activation thing where you can just have a conversation with it. And I'm not really necessarily looking for it to have any wonderful ideas, but it's like the person that I just kind of vomit all of my ideas so they're out in the world and documented somewhere, and then it kind of responds and prompts me to say more things. That's how I'm using AI. Let's see, what kind of pieces do I make? It's mostly tables. So this is a really, really boring and simple one. It's very stately, but it was a really specific design. We showed it a few times. This is the next piece this is for that market that's coming up. So it's gonna be really, really cool. Still a ways to go on this. Might even put some underglow. I'm not putting resin in this crack. Might put some underglow so that when it's in someone's living room and the lights are off, you'll get this really cool effect there. And then I do make more and more, still not as much as I'd like to, but just wall art and sculptures. Yeah, I wanna make more functionless pieces that are just nice to look at. Hang on a wall, put in a corner. Let's see. High-end remodeling. Yeah, that'll do it. $1 million job. Yeah, that's a market to be in. New Roots Dynamic. That's pretty cool. Money is in the custom work. It really is. It is in the custom work. People pay a premium for custom work. But I've like worked myself into this, I don't know if I pigeonholed myself to where the custom work that I'm doing is just like so variable. Like this piece, the techniques used for this piece are so different from the technique I'll use in the next piece. And so I haven't, I'm getting better price tags on these custom pieces, but I still don't know how to streamline processes as well as I would like to do. Nightbot is cranking. Appreciate it, Nightbot. What a good little robot he is, or she. Zen, you'll get there. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, and then Nightbot's saying this, but let me just go ahead and say it again. We're doing a little challenge in October where for every member on YouTube or subscriber on Patreon, maybe one of those chat things as well, for every single one, we will vow, is that the right word? We'll promise a tree planted in your honor for the membership, subscription, etc. The goal is to get to 50. If we get to 50 trees planted, 50 members / subscribers / chat donations or whatever they're called, I have no idea what they're called, we will do a live stream early November where all we're doing is just planting a tree or some trees. So that'll be really cool if we get there. We got a ways to go, but that's the goal. New Roots, we got, yeah, pretty cool though. Good to hear you figured out a platform. Are you working with any interior designers? I am. Interior designers are kind of the way that I started first getting into that higher market. And it's a cascading effect. I know there are a few people earlier who were just getting started and they were making just pieces for themselves. But the key is you have to have pictures of good stuff to be able to show people to merit better stuff. They have to be able to trust that you can make some high-end things. So I had an interior designer, I cold called them actually. That was frightening, but there was like 2 days. I was like, I'm gonna call every interior designer. And one of them took down my information and then like a month later asked for a custom piece. And luckily at that time it was a custom piece that I did pretty well on. I have done poorly on some pieces before for interior designers and we no longer speak. So that happens. But yeah, interior designers were the way that I kind of started first getting into those bigger and better markets because they have figured out how to do that. So there you go. Respectfully, single mom energy. Don't know what that means. Aram, no. Let's see. Yeah, New Roots. Learning more about businesses, or you know a lot more about businesses and marketing. But yeah, that's super cool. It's an interesting business. The craft businesses are very, very fulfilling, but can be maddening, and burnout is a real thing. Because it's like, I think artistry is inherently the antithesis of business and scaling, because I think the most beautiful art pieces are the ones where when someone looks at it, they're like, they can immediately understand how inefficient it was and just like ridiculous it was and unreasonable it was to make that thing. They're bewildered by how you did something, and that bewilderment typically is evoked because it's like they can recognize that you must have worked very, very hard to get that good or make that piece that good. And everything I just described is the antithesis of like factory line, business, efficiency, optimization, scaling. So it's like, how do you do that artistry where inherently you're trying to be as ridiculously inefficient with your time as possible, but then scale it to make a business that's optimized and efficient. Tough stuff. That's really cool though, that you got in some really good markets with the remodeling there. Very cool. So we might call it here. The thing that I was potentially going to show you, but quite honestly I'm just starving, is I was going to address a few cracks in the very, very front of this. And the way I do it, and I'll just describe it real fast before I go. The way I do it is sawdust, just kind of sprinkle some sawdust on like a piece of cardboard, and then wood glue, and you're just kind of making like a little putty, a little slurry of wood glue and sawdust. And then theoretically, it's going to be very close to the color of this. The idea is you do more sawdust than wood glue. Wood glue is just to make it so it dries. And you just kind of smear it in there. So that's what I'm going to be doing to those cracks, but I've been kind of going for, wow, over 2 hours now, and honestly, I'm pretty thirsty and I'm pretty hungry because it is lunchtime here. So we're going to call it. I appreciate everyone for being in the chat today. Hopefully we enjoyed that. It was a little different than normal because I wasn't talking quite as much. Good old peanut butter filler. Yeah, it's kind of like peanut butter, honestly. Yeah, be the best, or the absolute best at one particular thing at a time. That's a good bit of advice. Yeah, you can spread yourself too thin. Sometimes I do that with the pieces that I take on. But New Roots Dynamic, thanks for being so lively in the chat. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you again here. Hopefully we'll see all of you guys again here. The Devil's Rejects. Remember the name. There's gaps. Run a Japanese side. Oh, there you go. That is a good call. Yeah, you can even those up by basically just like making them look more intentional. I don't know if I have a Japanese style saw, but that's a very good idea. Yeah, make it look intentional rather than like you're trying to hide something. That's a fantastic idea. I might actually look into that for this one. I'm gonna see what the wood glue and the sawdust looks like. We have some cracks that the beam naturally opened up just because really thick pieces of wood love to open up cracks like that. So I don't know, it's a mixture of how many of those do I want to try to get perfectly. They're gonna reopen. I'm not gonna do bow ties everywhere. That'd be ridiculous. A pull saw, there you go. How did the planing go recently? The planing actually went really well. I don't know what day you were here on the first day that I did it, but the second and third day that I did it, I started getting the groove a little bit better for it. That diagonal planing did really help. But planing went well, got everything as flat as I could possibly get it. The joints went relatively well, 95% on the joints. Let's see, yeah, the shim, the shim is a really good technique for closing up gaps. I actually just did that for another piece where I use like these long, slender shims of white oak to fill in these long, slender gaps. Yeah. Joe Mama, you're cool, my man. Catch you later. Yes, you will indeed, sir. Awesome. Thanks, New Roots Dynamic. Thank you, The Devil's Rejects. Thank you, everybody else. We might do a live tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure, but we're gonna sign off for now. Go eat lunch or dinner. I know we got some people in France that tune in. I think it's about dinner time there. yeah, have a good Thursday. And the trees. Let's plant the trees. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. All right, we'll see you guys later.